Welcome back, everybody. I am Stefan ADIKA. You're an artist on record, your ultimate intimate conversation with your favorite artist. And if it is your first time here and you love vinyl and rock and roll stories, subscribe. Hit the bell to be reminded so you don't miss any other episodes.
I want action tonight, satisfaction all night.
The year was 1986. They had songs, I Want Action, Cry Tough, Look What the Cat Dragged In, I Won't Forget You, Baby, Talk Dirty to Me.
Talk dirty to me.
We have right here, Rikki Rockett of Poison. You're not going to miss this one, everybody. I saw you guys before, maybe right before your first album came out, L'Amour's in Brooklyn. And I saw two bands there before they hit. Hanoi Rocks, maybe 85, Two Steps from the Move. L'Amour's in Brooklyn was in Bay Ridge. It was the rock capital. And you guys played. It might have been maybe 50, 100 people in the club. And I remember seeing you guys. And I go, wow, look at this band. I remember the Drop at the Knees. I remember you playing. I remember the hand up. I was like, wow, look how cool. And the songs were so catchy and great. And then that first album. Still have, and if you go look at this.
Yeah, like look at that. Wow.
What a great album. And for you guys out there on YouTube, every song is fantastic on here, on this record.
When I was an early teenager, it was Kiss and Aerosmith and all that fun shit, right? And then disco came in, of course. And was just obliterating everything. And then, punk rock and new waves, snuck in by the time I was in high school. But then there was light at the end of the tunnel. There was bands like, Supertramp, and there was good music, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think the other alternative punk rock, I mean, you had punk rock, right? That was challenging everything pop, but so was prog rock. That was challenging everything too.
Oh yeah.
Just in its own way, and a completely different way. But it didn't have the social movement to go with it. So it didn't become, it
wasn't sexy enough.
It wasn't sexy enough. It was easier to get punk, right?
It was easier to get punk, yes.
And then punk sort of morphed into, new wave and that sort of young romantics kind of thing that was big in Brooklyn,
talking in your sleep.
Yeah, right. But that whole style, you know what I mean? It was, it was one. There was so many interesting things going on at one time, but the East Coast just stayed in that new wave thing. You know what I mean? And then it started to get electronic. People started looping tapes, and all of a sudden it got electronic, and I'm like, we can't go there. We're not going to, we're just not going to, I couldn't go to that. I'm an organic player. You know what I mean? For me, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's badass. Robert Fripp and all these people were doing all this crazy cool shit. But that wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to take rock onto a stage and have it big. We knew the things we had to do to make it, baby. But with punk rock, I mean, the reason I always say we had punk rock roots is it's not really our sound that had punk rock roots. It was how we did business. We couldn't get a gig anywhere. We were under 21, most of us. Nobody was wanting to hire a hard rock band. So we just started to do everything ourselves. I'd go into the music stores and see how they were doing flyers and mailing lists and doing all this stuff like DIY, right? So we just started to do it that way, do everything ourselves. And if you want to be punk rock, start your own business. You know what I mean? Do it your way. That's the way to go up against it. And so we started renting like American Legion halls, like all that kind of stuff, skating ring. And then we knew, we started to figure out exactly who we were. You know what I mean? Because we started as a cover band. You know what I mean? And
the covers you were doing. What was in your set back then?
A lot of 70s stuff.
Yeah.
Alice Cooper, Is It My Body? Like all kinds of stuff like that. Scorpions, Judas Priest.
Wow.
And we do like Tommy Two-Tone, right? Just so it was on the list, but it rocked. You know what I mean?
Really?
Like it wasn't like, it was solid. It was hard hitting, right? So we knew how to mix it up. And then we started putting our own stuff in there. And we started to get a following like that, but it would have never, I don't think, ever been big enough back there to ever propel us really to where we wanted to go. It was all happening out here. Motley Crue was playing the US Festival and Rat got a deal. But I feel like once we got here, when we got here, people were past the Rats and Motley Crues. They were trying to sign. Everybody thought this was going to be this heavy movement, which there was, but it didn't come out of Los Angeles so much. But there was bands like Malice and Keel and all those bands. Everyone thought they were going to be freaking absolutely huge, and they weren't. It just didn't. People were still wanting to. We haven't had enough of that Rat and Motley Crue kind of stuff yet. You know what I mean? We haven't had enough Van Halen and Aerosmith. We haven't had, and so. We were able to, I think, hang in there, but we still were not amassing a following out here yet. And we were trying to figure it out. There was bands like Witch that was just stomping us into the ground. Like bands like that were doing really, really good.
The East Coast. Well, East Coast was a little hard to see. It wasn't so glam too. I remember this band like Prophet was like the big prog type rock. There's Talus, you know what I mean? Back then in the East
Talus,
Coast.
Yeah,
Talus,
sure.
Billy Sheen's band.
Right.
It was not so. It wasn't the flamboyant rock or like the New York Doll stuff that people thought it was. New York,
the Rods, shit like that.
All the bands that would come to Lemoore, I remember it was real heavy metal type vibe, and then it was just a whole different scene. How did you connect with the guys in Poison? I know before CC, because CC wasn't with you guys back then. You had another guitar.
Nah, he was with a bunch of bands like Wicked Lester and all kinds of one hand clap.
Did you meet CC in California? You didn't meet him East Coast? In California.
Yeah, we did. We came out here with a guy named Matt Smith. And we had already met Jim Faraci, who engineered the Rat album, and he was super behind us. And Kenny Austin from Atlantic really liked our bands. We thought we were going to get a deal with Atlantic, and it just didn't happen. And then Matt got his girlfriend pregnant and wanted to go home and marry her and do the right thing. And he had just had enough. I mean, he was, the way we handled being out here and not having any money was just to have fun, to go and just work and keep our heads focused on promoting our band, being with chicks, just, out every night doing something. And Matt wasn't that kind of guy. That wasn't his thing. He liked to hang at home, and there was nothing to stay at home for. I mean, we had a crappy apartment and nobody wanted to, you know what I mean? So, I'd wake up in the morning. I couldn't wait to get the hell out of the apartment because there was nothing there. Right. And,
what a scene it was back then when you got there, huh? The strip was packed. It was a rock and roll circus. It truly was, Rikki.
It was. And, Athena, Tommy Lee's sister, was one of the first people to take us around and show us the ropes. And, oh, we're going to go to the Rainbow. I know, but it's 2:00 in the morning. Yeah, but the parking lot's happening. Okay. There was just all these different things that we didn't know. And, so anyway, so she did our makeup for the first album cover, by the way.
Oh, really? So this is Athena that did this, huh?
So if anybody doesn't like our album cover, you can blame Athena.
That's great. So she did it.
You can inadvertently blame Motley Crue's sister. But she's a wonderful person, by the way.
I won't forget you. baby.
So that album cover, we love the idea of like Kiss Rock and Roll Over.
Mm-hmm.
And but you know, the art department at Enigma was only so much at the time. And so we did those photos, and the way they did, Cece had a breakout, right? Literally. And he was like all red and everything like that. So they tried to cover it up with makeup and it didn't look right. So they're like, don't worry about it. We'll just, you know, airbrush it after. Well, back then you didn't have Photoshop. It was like literally airbrush it, took the photo and hit it with paint. Okay. So you can't just do one guy. Now you got to do everybody, you know? So it got over the top. Like it went from some makeup to like over the top. And we're like, screw it. Let's just go fucking over the top. Like Enigma's like, yeah, why not? Let's gender bend. Let's just take it to the next level. And then we did the back cover with a different photographer. Rob Jones did the cover of that. And then John Scarpati did the back cover and the inside cover, who's an amazing photographer. He's in Nashville now. And Rob Jones, of course, went and bought KNAC.com. So that's what he went on to do.
Wow.
Out on the streets to make your dreams happen. You gotta
Okay.
But Cry Tough was the first single.
It was the
which
first
didn't
single.
work, by the way.
It didn't work, huh?
Yeah, it didn't work. It fell flat.
Did you guys
we
have
put
it
out?
Did you guys like, okay, we want this, we want that? Did you go back and forth what you wanted for the first single on this album?
Yes, and I do remember lots of discussions about that, but Enigma thought that Cry Tough would made the most sense. So we did that video at the Palace. And what we did was, it wasn't a ton of money, but we had some moving cameras and stuff in the audience. And what we did was, I think we did like 4 passes before the crowd got there on stage. 5 passes, one of the band and then one of each member. And then the crowd came in and we did our show and then stopped and said, we're making a video tonight. We're going to play this to track because that's the way you do videos and it's really weird. So just work with us. And I think we went through it and then that was it. They just edited like 6 takes together. That was Cry Tough. And there was a couple, like some B-roll, in the dressing room and stuff like that. But and then when we did, we didn't think we were going to get another single.
Wow.
But Rat decided to take us on the road.
So if you want to catch more, Rikki, click right on that box right there. And also, please, don't forget, the first of the month, we have a vinyl showdown where you could win records from us and other prizes. Links will be in the description down below. You got to be in it to win it. And follow us on your favorite podcast, whether it's iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, Artist on Record. Take us with you in the bathroom, in the car, wherever you want. Just don't get wild and crazy. All righty, everybody, remember, it's only rock and roll, and we like it. And always remember, who loves you, baby? We do.